Lisbon is one of the oldest cities in Europe, older than Paris, older than London, older than Rome even. And it's the only European capital to be built on both a river, the Tagus, and a sea, the Atlantic. This is very much a city that ebbs and flows with the tide and shimmers with the most extraordinary light. It's a light that is trapped and reflected by Lisbon's 7 surrounding hills. It's a light that is mirrored upon the surface of the river. It's a light that bounces off the pale colours of the sandstone buildings of the city. The name Lisbon comes from the word Lisipo, which means enchanted port, and that's exactly how this city feels.
If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be, baby, just let it be.
This lively Portuguese city is the starting point for our unforgettable Douro with Lisbon and Madrid journey with Scenic. From here, we head north to the charming port city of Porto, where we'll board Scenic Azure to sail along the magnificent Douro Valley. Then we'll wrap it up with a couple of days in the Spanish capital.
Ride with me, ride with me, see where this thing goes.
As Portugal's capital, this colourful city has all the grand monuments and stately cathedrals you'd expect. But this here is its heart, Rocio Square, or Praça do Rocio, as the locals call it.
This is Lisbon's main square where the workers come to protest, where buskers come to howl, where tourists come to get fleeced for expensive coffee. The official name of the square is Dom Pedro IV, but it's a name that never stuck. Perhaps it's because the statue there is thought to be of a guy called Maximilian of Mexico, a guy who died at the hands of a firing squad. The Mexicans didn't want a statue of Maximilian, so they sold it at a knockdown price to the Portuguese because Max looked like Dom.
Down toward the river is the Hieronymus Monastery, a 500-year-old masterpiece with a history as impressive as its sheer physical size. It took over a century to build, but the chapel itself dates back even further.
It was King Manuel who built the church?
Yes, he was the one who sponsored the construction of the church here in Belém.
And there was a reason why it was built right here?
Yes, there's a reason. Here was like a little hermitage that belonged to the military order of Christ, and he was governor, he was great master of that order, and for that reason he chose this spot to build his masterpiece with a kind of a decoration that in Portugal we called Manuelino, from his name.
Right.
Yeah.
King Manuel gave the orders for the monastery's construction to begin at the end of the 1400s, here at the site where seafarers sought refuge and prayed for safe passage during Portugal's Age of Discovery.
And we're right next to the river, so this is where the explorers would depart from.
Exactly.
And they would come in here before their voyage.
Yes, it was mandatory for them to stop here on their way to the New World, so they want to ask for protection and then thank God that they arrived safe.
You just cannot underestimate what these guys achieved, really. They opened up Europe to the rest of the world, really, didn't they?
Europe, no, the
Via
world.
the sea.
The known world at
Yeah.
the time, exactly, because other people tried to circumnavigate the world, but they never found the passage.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what we did. We found a passage from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean.
The monastery not only has an important connection to the empire-building era of which Portugal is rightly proud, it's also uniquely connected to another famed Portuguese creation. It's a creation that simply would not exist were it not for a particular monastic laundry requirement.
The Portuguese are known the world over for their great explorers, canned fish, and, well, most importantly, for the creation of these delectable delicacies.
In Portugal, the monks had to use the yolk eggs to, to do something, to eat. And they invented the custards, with the yolk.
Why did they have the eggs in the first place?
Well, the thing is that they needed the white part of the egg to stiff the clothes. So
they used the whites as starch for their costumes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And so they needed to do something with the rest. And then they started just inventing things, and mostly custard, sweets.
Fortunately for us, those creative monks had the culinary nous to produce what we now know as the Portuguese tart, and what the locals call pastis de nata.
They have a massive kitchen out there. Do you have any idea how many of these they're baking a day?
They do about 6,000 cusses a day, more or less.
Wow.
It's a lot.
They are very good.
After the break, the splendour of Sintra, quite possibly Portugal's most delightful town.
I mean, look at it. It's a fairy tale village of great beauty.